I'm Jamz Supernova and I'm a DJ and broadcaster, and I'm going to be speaking to you about the DIY generation. My generation and the generation after are the ones that are doing it for ourselves. We're taking control of our own careers and futures. So the financial crash happened 10 years ago when I was actually in college, and I remember there was such an uncertainty in the air, and even the teachers, they were scared for our futures. A few years after that, university tuition fees went up, and more recently, 0-hour contracts have been introduced. And for some people, living on a 0 hours contract just isn't good enough for them to survive. So I felt that our generation have had to be the hustler generation. We've had to make things our own and build our own careers and decide how much money we want to earn. And I think that's where that kind of hustler mentality comes, and I think we're definitely the hustler generation. Social media has also played a massive part in the DIY generation. Literally, if you have a phone, anyone can have a business if they have a social media account. You could do it from your bedroom. It's given anyone a voice now. It's cut out the middleman or woman, and it's changed the job market. I really feel like the internet has driven a massive change. So I've definitely benefited from the internet. I started my journey on SoundCloud, and I would upload radio shows every single week to my SoundCloud account. And SoundCloud, for those that don't know, is a music platform which lets you upload content, so music content, whether it's productions, remixes, or mixes itself. You can make money from streaming by putting your music or distributing your music onto Spotify or Apple Music or Beatport. So artists are doing that now. They're also making money from live shows. By building their following on SoundCloud, they were able to get live shows and bookings. The whole game has changed. I feel like now the artist is in control, and they're the ones that have got the power, and they can say, no, I don't think I want a contract like that, or actually, you might have to give me that. I'm independent. There's been an incredible rise of young people running businesses just using their social media accounts or using the social media accounts to propel their businesses. For example, you have someone like Vicky Grout, so she's a photographer, and she came up shooting up and coming grime acts, and her portfolio was her Instagram, and that's what was used to build a following, but then also to get other work. So she does incredible campaigns, people like Nike, or front cover shoots of artists. It's amazing to see how she's grown. And then you've also got people like poets. Charlie Cox, she decided to write a poem a day for a month, showcase it on Instagram, and by the end of the month she had an agent and a book deal. So this kind of online culture is really challenging nepotism. You can get headhunted just from your online portfolio alone, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Twitter, whether it's YouTube, and I think it's definitely challenging some of the old ways in which we thought we had to get jobs. And this kind of change is making us more creative. Take, for example, Geldom. So they run an online magazine for women of colour, by women of colour, and they'd created it because they weren't seeing themselves reflected in mainstream media. There's also the noticeable generation gap. So the things that my generation and the younger generation place value on is very different to what our older generation did or does. They place value on 9 to 5, getting a secure job, getting a pension. But I definitely think that we are definitely more risk takers, and we go against the status quo. And I think the things that we place value on comes down to happiness, a creative outlet and expression. So we spoke a lot about the great things about DIY generation, but of course with everything there are going to be downsides as well. Not everyone has the financial backing to get them through dry spells. Not everyone has the luxury to be able to focus on their dreams full time. And I think they're the sort of downsides that we don't often talk about. And there are lonely times as well. Imagine you miss birthdays, christenings, and that can sometimes result in the breakdown of relationships because you are so one-track minded on your dreams, on your goals and what you need to do. But that's also positive, and I think it's a common trait. We're persistent as well, so I was told for 5 years, no, you're not good enough for a radio show, not yet, not yet, not yet. And I just carried on knocking and eventually got my own radio show.
Jamz Supernova. On One Extra.
The DIY generation fever is spreading. Even the older generation are starting to think more like us, so people working multiple jobs, having side hustles, creating their own businesses as well. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see what happens with the younger generation, with the faster internet, with the better apps, with the better phones, to see what they can create and what they can do. I think that the world will definitely be their oyster.